little win today, which was we're getting ready to ship a new product that I did the firmware and versions 2, 3, and 4 of the electronics. The very first iteration was done by some. Songs of the Spellbound Sea. Yeah, I backed a module called Songs of the Spellbound Sea, which is super interesting and is largely, go figure, based around piracy and pirates and pirate crews and the like. What's my favorite piece of homebrew to date? Great question. Those are a little lifted. I did not push that lid down hard enough. That one's better. Favorite piece of homebrew to date? I guess that means that you you FK for 5 minutes and missed a bonk. Follow the Franco. Welcome in, Franco. Good to see you. But basically, they were talking about how, you know, they homebrewed the shit out of this game, and we laughed at the fact that no, you haven't. You haven't changed anything. And it became one of those things that was a bit of a meme, right? Is, you know, you got homebrew, and then that ended up turning in. At a lovely was Ombre because it's very clearly different, and yeah, so we ended up like one of my favorite pieces of homebrew is probably the Way of the Bob Monk, which was a lot of fun. Carrot is playing a Furbolg Monk in the Witchlight campaign, and yeah, Ombre is a joy making things ridiculous, right? What does Ombre mean to you? It's the feeling in your heart. But yeah, like for instance, Carrot's monk subclass that we created for them is Carrot wanted to play monk because monks are in theory really cool. Feel a little lackluster, especially in low levels. And given that this is a fairly low level campaign, we're like 2 years into it and we just hit level 7. You can't have a class that feels terrible at low levels if you're going to be spending the entire campaign at low levels. So we changed it, and it basically is like a wild magic monk that is built around the idea of protecting their friends. And it is fantastic. And it has been a lot of fun to revisit and go after. Like, winning is everybody having fun. You can beat a combat, but you can also lose by beating a combat if everybody was so bored the entire time nobody cared. You know, and I know that that Theo mentioned that last night, that they'd recently done a combat and they were so bored because they spent half an hour smashing against a zombie and it was a foregone conclusion. Move on. We roll dice to figure out if something is or isn't going to happen. If there is no probability of something not happening, then just move on. You guys smash the zombie's head in. Oh, you know, it had 100 health left? Actually, it only had 1. Congratulations. How do you want to do this? I'm Mothman, otherwise known as... they were like, yeah, pretty much all of their powers required against the Monsters Guide. Thanks, Ariel. Welcome in. Lovely to see you. We're sanding dice today because we've got an in-person sale on the weekend. And we're trying to get some stuff ready. Currently, we're talking about Killjoy DMs and novelty dice. But yeah, like, so the thing is like, my player asked me if they could reskin Fireball to be psychic damage. And if you look, you know, from a sheer statistics standpoint, it's cool. We do all sorts of random stuff here. We do 3D printing, we do dice making, we do electronics and engineering. We're currently partway through a, that is a chonk dice. A very pretty one at that. Yeah, it's this very pearly, teal, pinky situation. Very, very pretty. That's okay. We will get there. finish off this monster. Describe it for me. Whatever. Carolyn actually has a TPK to her name. I don't. To be fair, Carolyn's TPK is a danger room simulation of basically a friend came to Carolyn and went, hey, I know you want to run more combats. We need to learn how to play together as a team. We'd love if you could run a combat for us. And Carrot set up a fairly... a difficult but manageable combat as long as they were playing well. But they kept the creature in question, I believe it was the Chardalyn Dragon that Carolyn enjoyed fighting so much. Yeah, it's a little goblin paladin that was designed for keeping the party alive for some first-time players. And Twilight Clerics are particularly good at that. They are very, very, very strong at... they have some auras that allow people to max out healing, and they've got... they have an aura that maxes healing and also gives 10 hit points every round. And that's a passive thing that doesn't need to be re-upped or anything, so it's a pretty strong piece overall. Yeah, and then Carrot kept running away, which is fine. Whatever. But, yeah, they were... Yeah, top of the combat. It says don't line up, and then does. Like, you know, because it's not like they were worried about metagaming in that aspect of, like... But, you know, I don't think it's a terribly difficult thing to assume that a dragon's going to have some kind of line attack. I will say, Kenny told me about when he ran a Shardland Dragon for his party. And I actually thought it was really interesting, because basically, they were beating the snot out of the dragon, having a good fight. And he basically went, you guys are a little over leveled for this, so I want to see what this actually looks like. And he had the dragon take off, and a goblin paladin who wore, like, ratted out vestments over some really shiny plate armor he had stolen off a corpse. And it was a very fun character to play, because one of my big things I always maintain is if you're running a new game, running a game for new players, you never want your players to feel like they can't be ridiculous. As a result, you want somebody who's going to be the most ridiculous person at the table. And it gives everybody else the permission to be silly. So, as a result, you had Chonk, who spoke with a really, really squeaky voice. I want to work with my players so that they have the most fun possible. And there's not even really tournaments in D&D. Like, there's Adventurers League play, but that's not even really tournament. That's just that's just group play that's been organized by modules organized by Wizards of the Coast. And those modules suck, I would like to say. They're terrible, and I never want to run one or play in one. But, like, there isn't really explain really know what they were doing, and they just had the book open and were reading from it. And you could tell that they never actually read the module ahead of time, because they also had a reading voice, when you could tell that they were very clearly reading out of the book. And we made a point of saying, like, oh, hey, you know, like, because they claimed that, you know, oh, the players do whatever they want and things go crazy and everything like that. And we're like, yeah, but dude, you've been playing this, like, by the book. It's like, oh, no. I've homebrewed the shit out of this campaign. We're like, you do realize we have the book open in front of us, right? Oh, well, I can't remember which way it went first, but basically at the end of the day, the joke was that it was a character, Mas Ombru, very much homebrew, and our goal became trying to get them to say Ombru on stream, and we actually managed to make them do it, which was phenomenal and hilarious because they were not a very nice person. They were a bad DM, and basically shortly after that campaign ended, they pretty much saw themselves out of every possible community, which was hilarious. So yes, Ombru is what if because for some reason OBS just really likes being the most quiet thing on my computer, which is really annoying. It basically means that if I want to be able to hear anything in OBS, I have to have my sounds turned right up, and then if anything outside of OBS plays, then I get my ears blown out, which is always fun. The two pieces came down, the front half and the back half, and basically, like, the front half was the head that couldn't move around but had, you know, the beam attack and the aura and that kind of stuff, and then the body didn't have the beam, didn't have the aura, but it had a lot of hit points and it could hit like a truck. It is a fairly big balance change because fire is resisted by the most creatures in the game, right? As a result of that, that means that, on average, they will do more damage to any given random monster in the game, which seems like a potentially big deal. However, I don't know about your games. I'm not pulling random monsters from the monster manual. I'm not grabbing random monsters. I'm creating my encounters. So it doesn't matter what random monsters or any aggregation of monsters is resistant to. And also, I make the rules. Guess what? That ancient dragon, yeah, they were bullied as a kid and grew up. Looking at it, switching from fire damage over to psychic is actually a fairly substantial balance shift within a certain aspect. Now, the reason I say it's a balance shift is specifically because fire is one of the most... it is the most resisted elemental damage in the game. Once you discount, like piercing, bludgeoning, slashing from non-magical types. Fire is resisted by the most creatures. Okay. So switching from fire over to psychic, those people are now rolling